What it's like meeting NBA players. What's up, you guys? My name is Ray. Today, I'm gonna share with you guys what it was like meeting some NBA players. I'm gonna share the good side, the bad side, some of the ugly stuff as well. A lot of these guys were really cool. Some of them were not so cool, but I'm gonna share with you absolutely everything. This video is pretty unique, so if you wouldn't mind giving it a thumbs up and hitting subscribe if you have not done so already, I would greatly appreciate it. So I've met John Wall, Kyrie Irving, Jabari Parker, LaMelo Ball, Lonzo Ball, LiAngelo Ball, LaVar Ball, Trey Burke, Kenneth Faried, Kyle Korver, Paul George, and if you stay until the very end, I will even tell you how I got Giannis's phone number. So let's talk about John Wall. He's not the first NBA player that I've met, but by far he is my favorite out of everybody that I've met, and there are multiple reasons why. So I've actually met John 2 or 3 times. Now you might be wondering, how did you meet John Wall? Well, I met him when I was around 12 years old, and I met him in Las Vegas at the NBA Summer League. For those who don't know, I've lived in Vegas my entire life, and pretty much every single year, the NBA Summer League practices here in Vegas at UNLV, and pretty much every basketball fan that lives in Vegas knows that if you go outside the Summer League practices while the team is practicing, there is a good chance you might get to meet 1 or 2 NBA players. So me being 12 years old at the time, I went up to my dad and I was like, hey dad, some of my favorite NBA players are 20 minutes away from here. Is there any way you could drive me and my little brother out there so maybe we could meet some of these guys? And my dad, being a super cool dad, he said, you know what, sure, I'll take you out there to meet some NBA players. Let's see what happens. So when I was out there, I got to see John Wall leaving the practice facility, and we were standing about 2 feet away from each other. So I went up to him and I said, yo, what's up, John Wall? And we just shook hands. He gave me kind of that bro handshake, you know what I mean? And that was pretty much it. And then a couple days later, my dad took me back to the practice, right? I just wanted to see if I could meet some more NBA players, and I saw John Wall again, and he shook my hand once again, and this time I was dressed a little bit nicer. I had some Jordans on that my dad had bought me and stuff, and to be more specific, they were the cool gray 11s. John Wall looks at them, he says, nice shoes. He shook my hand once again, and that was pretty much it. Now, the third time that I met John Wall was that exact same week. Keep in mind, this was summer break for me as a kid, and I was 12. I didn't have much to do. So during summer break, my brother and I, we just asked my dad if he could take us back to UNLV so we could watch these guys practice and maybe we could meet some more players. What else is there to do for a 12-year-old in Vegas? You know what I mean? But this time, I came a little bit more prepared. I had a Diary of a Wimpy Kid book with me. I kid you not. It was the do-it-yourself book, because at the end of the book, there are like 100 blank pages in case you want to write anything. And at the time, that was the only thing I really had that I could have somebody sign for me. So I took it with me, hoping I could meet some NBA players again, and hopefully one of these players would sign my book. And lo and behold, who do I run into once again? I ran into John Wall, and I had my book with me. He said, what's up? He shook my hand once again. By now, he was probably thinking I was stalking him or something, but obviously that wasn't the case. I was just a little kid and a huge fan. So when I ran into him, I asked him if he could sign my book, and he was a super nice guy. I also had a Sharpie on me just in case, and he took the Sharpie, he took the book, he signed it, and he told me to keep working hard. Now, of course, I didn't make it to the NBA, so John Wall, I'm sorry if I let you down, but overall, John Wall was the nicest NBA player I've met so far. Every single time that I've met him, he's been a super cool dude. And when he was injured and couldn't play in the NBA for 2 years, I was at the barbershop getting my hair cut, and there were some barbers talking about how, oh, this guy's better than John Wall. Oh, John Wall's not that good anymore. And I was always defending John Wall just because when I was a little kid, this guy showed me so much love, and because of that, I have always been a John Wall fan. So if any of you were curious on how John Wall is as a person, I have nothing but kind words to say about him. Now, this next guy is also a household name in the NBA, but but unfortunately, I did not have the best experience when it came to meeting him. So it was Kyrie Irving, and I actually met him the exact same week that I met John Wall. And if you hadn't guessed, yes, I met Kyrie Irving at the NBA Summer League. This was actually a complete accident. So after I had met John Wall and some of these other guys that I'm about to talk about, my dad and I figured, you know what, we've been here long enough. I already got to meet like 10 different players at the time. We were pretty much ready to just go back home. So my dad, my brother, and I, we all start walking back to my dad's truck, and he's parked at the UNLV parking lot. And if I didn't say this earlier, UNLV is the university that these NBA players practice at. So we're walking towards the truck. I get in the passenger seat. I roll down the window and I see Kyrie Irving is maybe 5 feet away. In fact, he was so close, his Jeep was parked right next to my dad's truck. It was literally the spot right next to the truck. And it was a Team USA basketball Jeep. Kyrie Irving was walking to it with some other guy. He looked like he was 20 or 30 years older than Kyrie, so it might have been his agent or somebody on his team or a family member. I have no idea. And my little brother and I, we see Kyrie at the same time. So we both roll down the window and we yell, "Kyrie!" Keep in mind, at the time I was around 11 or 12 and my brother was maybe 8 or 9, and we saw Kyrie. We were dumbfounded. This guy was one of the hottest rookies or second or third year players at the time. I don't really remember, but either way, I just knew that my brother and I were really big fans of the way this guy dribbled the basketball. So he looks right at us and he kind of gives us like this dab, but at the time the dab hadn't even really been invented, so he was kind of just like, I don't know, like a one arm over his face type thing. And the guy he was walking with said, "Not right now, kids." And they both got in the Jeep and they drove away. So for the next couple years, I was pretty like bummed out about it, you know, because Kyrie Irving, I mean, my brother and I looked up to him. I learned a lot of my ball handling moves from Kyrie. So it kind of sucked running into him and him not wanting to say hello or anything like that. So yeah, for the next couple years, I was kind of bummed out about it. But now that I'm a little bit older, I realized that at the end of the day, Kyrie is a human being just like any one of us. He could have been having a bad day. He could have had somewhere to go to. He could have had things to do. I don't know. So even though when I was 12, I was pretty upset at the entire situation, now that I'm older, I don't really care. If I ever ran into Kyrie again, it's no hard feelings. I'd just say what's up to him. And if he wants to talk, then great. And if he doesn't, then it is what it is. What can I do about it, you know? And then I met Trey Burke, and I also met him here at the NBA Summer League. And no, I didn't meet all of these players at the Summer League, in case you were wondering that. But I met Trey Burke either right when he was drafted or before he was drafted or just sometime early into his career. Now, for those of you who don't know who Trey Burke is, in the NBA, he's not a household name, but back when this guy was in college, he was an absolute beast. One of my favorite memories of Trey Burke in college was when he was playing at Michigan and he hit a crazy game winner in March Madness. The entire crowd went crazy. A couple years later, when I was in high school, I ended up working at Chick-fil-A, and I was telling my manager about this story when I met Trey Burke, and he told me that he was actually at that game when Trey Burke hit that game-winning shot in March Madness. So pretty cool. But let's get into the Trey Burke story. I ran into Trey Burke at Summer League. No fans were surrounding him or anything, and I walk up to him and I'm like, "Hey Trey, I love that shot that you hit back when you were at Michigan. I just wanted to say I love the stuff that you're doing and I wish you the best in the NBA." And this guy was extremely nice. He asked me if I wanted to take a picture with him, and I said absolutely. We talked for a little bit. I asked him what some of his goals were for the NBA, and he said he wanted to win a championship and be a great player. So we took that picture, we talked for a couple minutes, and I appreciate him giving me the time of day. Even though I was just a little kid in middle school, he didn't treat me like some little kid and was like, get away from me, you little kid, I got things to do. No, he was super nice. Trey Burke was absolutely awesome. So Trey Burke, I appreciate you for doing that. So this next player that I met, it also wasn't the best experience, and at the time I was a little bit bummed out about it because once again, I was a kid in middle school meeting an NBA player, and because it wasn't a good experience, I was obviously going to be a little bit sad about it. But once again, now that I'm a little older, it is what it is, and it's just something to kind of laugh at nowadays. And this player is Jabari Parker. For those who don't know, Jabari Parker was a star basketball player in high school and in college when he played at Duke. I first heard about Jabari when he was playing high school basketball at Simeon in Chicago, and ever since I saw him play that day, I became a really big fan. I thought he was a great player. That's also the high school that Derrick Rose went to, and Derrick Rose is probably my second favorite player of all time, so I immediately became a big fan of Jabari Parker. And ironically, I met him the exact same summer that I met some of these other guys at the NBA Summer League. However, I didn't meet Jabari at Summer League. I met him at a hotel in Las Vegas. So how did I meet Jabari? Well, my parents signed me up for this Jordan camp that was going to be going on at this hotel in Vegas. And one of the guys at the camp was the Handle Life Dribble Too Much dude. You might recognize him. His name is Johnny. Anyway, he was having a ball handling competition. We were playing Simon Says, but it was called Dribble Says. It was pretty much just Simon Says, but like I just said, it was ball handling, so we were calling it Dribble Says. Anyway, I ended up winning that competition. I got to take a picture with Johnny from Handle Life or Dribble Too Much, however you guys know him as. And when I got done playing, I just needed to go to the bathroom, you know what I mean? So little 11, 12, 13-year-old me, however old I was, I went to the bathroom, and when I was coming out of a stall, I accidentally hit my head on somebody's bicep. And keep in mind, I was a little kid at the time, so I was pretty short. It's pretty understandable why I might hit my head on some grown man's bicep. And I look up, I kid you not, it is Jabari Parker. Jabari was washing his hands at the time, and I was about to go wash my hands, but when I realized it was Jabari Parker and I was like 11 or something, I didn't know what to do. I just looked up to him and I was like, oh wow, like it's Jabari Parker. And I asked him, hey Jabari, can we take a quick picture? And he looks at me and he says, no thanks. And I just look at him and I say, oh, I'm sorry. And I just wash my hands, I dry them up, and I just leave the bathroom. And at the time, yeah, I was a little bit upset because Jabari Parker, I mean, he was about to get drafted. I've been watching him since he was in high school. I watched him play in college. I thought he was this superstar player. So yeah, naturally, I was gonna be a little bit upset, but once again, now that I'm a little bit older, who's asking to take pictures in the bathroom? You know what I mean? So I don't really fault Jabari Parker for that, even though when I was a kid, yeah, I was kind of sad about it. Nowadays, I could really care less. Now let's talk about the Ball family, because I've actually met them all. I met Lonzo, LaMelo, LiAngelo, LaVar, Lonzo's baby mama. I've pretty much met them all, and I met them all here in Vegas. So back when the Big Baller brand was a thing, they were having this collab or this partnership. I don't really know what was going on, but they were having it with this store in Vegas where they sell some really nice shoes. And a lot of basketball fans here in Vegas knew that they were going to be having this collab, so a couple thousand people showed up to this event. I kid you not, the line to meet some of these players wrapped around the building. Now, me being me, I didn't show up right on time. I figured there was going to be a lot of commotion, and I wanted to be a little bit late so I could just kind of come in when everything had already settled. Now, ironically, I happened to show up the exact second that Lonzo Ball was leaving. I kid you not, there was this huge line to meet Lonzo Ball, as you would expect. This was right after he got drafted by the Lakers. It was the summer he got drafted and he hadn't played a game yet, so a lot of people wanted to meet Lonzo because of all the hype that was surrounding his name. Now, there was a huge line of people waiting to meet him, and Lonzo, he probably had to go to practice or something, but he ended up leaving while there were still hundreds of people waiting to meet him. And a lot of those people were pretty bummed out, but luckily for me, that is exactly when I was showing up. So I actually caught Lonzo while he was walking out, and once again, I was only maybe 2 or 3 feet away from Lonzo, so I saw him and I just said, hey Lonzo, huge fan, can we take a quick picture? And he said, for sure bro. He looked at my camera real quick and he took a selfie with me. So super nice guy. I get that he was busy and he had to leave the event, but I'm super grateful that he took the time out of his day to take a picture with the fan. And I was actually really sad that the Lakers traded him because because I am a Laker fan, but I get it. It was what, I don't even want to talk about that right now, but it is what it is. And after I met Lonzo, I got in line with my little brother to meet LaMelo. And while I was in line, some dude came up to me and he had a picture of Lonzo at UCLA. And he asked me, hey, do you want to buy this picture? Maybe you can get it autographed. And I asked him how much money he wanted for it. And I think he wanted like $120 or something crazy like that. And at the time, I was a broke high schooler. I couldn't pay no $120. So I negotiated with him for like 45 minutes and eventually he gave me the picture for 15 bucks. Now, in hindsight, even if I would have had the $120 to pay him, it would have been a great investment because by the time I got to the front of the line, I had that picture and LaMelo Ball signed it for me. And obviously, LaMelo Ball is about to be a star in the NBA. He's already one of the best rookies, if not the best rookie in the NBA. So that autograph is going to be worth a lot of money one day. Now, granted, I am never selling that because I don't want to sell autographs. You know what I mean? That was given directly to me. I'm not going to be someone that just goes and sells it. But if I wanted to, I know it is worth way more than the $15 I paid for that picture. So when I got to the front of the line, I got to meet LaMelo. At the time, he was still playing basketball at Chino Hills. We just shook hands really fast. I told him I love the stuff he's doing at Chino Hills, and we even talked a little bit because you guys remember that crazy half-court shot that he hit, right? Anyway, that shot was against Foothill High School, which is my high school's rival high school. So as soon as that video went viral, my coach and everybody on my team was going absolutely crazy because LaMelo Ball, he was like a savior to us. He hit that wild shot and embarrassed the school that we hated at the time. So I told LaMelo that I was very grateful that he did that. So we laughed about that for a little bit. So I told him, look man, I'm gonna need you to hit another one of these shots for me. And he shook my hand and he was like, I got you, man. So I'm still waiting on him to hit one of those shots. Since I am a Laker fan, I'm really hoping that he does it against one of the teams I don't like too much, like the Clippers or the Celtics. But overall, LaMelo Ball was a super cool dude, and I'm very grateful that he gave me an autograph. And then I also got to meet LiAngelo. Now, like I was saying, there was a super long line to meet Lonzo and to meet LaMelo, but for whatever reason, there wasn't even a line at all to go meet LiAngelo. So as soon as I got done talking to LaMelo, I just walked up to LiAngelo and we just started talking for a little bit. I asked him if we could take a picture. He said yes. We took a quick picture, and before I knew it, I realized that we had been talking for 15 or 20 minutes. LiAngelo and I had a great conversation. I was asking him what it was like to become famous at a young age. Overall, we had a really good conversation. And when he was talking to me, it didn't even feel like I was talking to a celebrity because LiAngelo was so cool. He was just talking like any normal dude was. And even though he was telling me what it's like to be rich and famous, it didn't come off as if he was bragging. So the guy is super humble, and out of that 15-minute conversation, he was talking for 12 or 13 minutes, and I was just sitting there listening to everything he had to say. And at no point did I feel like this guy was anything other than extremely humble. So even though it sucks that LiAngelo Ball isn't in the NBA right now, to me, he is still a winner because even though he has money and fame and all of that, the guy is super humble. He's not bragging about what he has, and he took the time out of his day to talk to a fan. So because of that, I really appreciate it. And then I also got to meet the man, the myth, the legend, LaVar Ball. LaVar is exactly how he is on television. He was super loud, super funny, super nice. He took a few pictures with me. We even got a video together of me walking up to him and saying hello. And I had a Lakers backpack with me at the time, and he signed it for me, and he said, "Big baller backpacks coming out soon." So LaVar was a super nice guy. Overall, the entire Ball family was an awesome experience getting to meet. I wish them all absolutely nothing short of the maximum success that life has to offer. And then I also met Kenneth Faried and Kyle Korver. I met them at the NBA Summer League the same week that I met John Wall and all these other guys, and we didn't really have much of an interaction. However, both of them saw that John Wall signed my book, and I just casually asked them if they wouldn't mind signing mine as well, and they were both very kind and they signed my book, and that was pretty much it. So a huge shout out to those guys as well. Now let's talk about Paul George. And I personally did not get to meet him. However, my dad did, and they were in my car. I know that sounds super confusing, but I'm gonna tell you guys the entire story. So we all know that Paul George broke his leg, right? Super unfortunate, but we all know that happened. So when he broke his leg, that was actually at a game here in Vegas. It was the USA basketball team. They were scrimmaging against each other, and Paul George was on one team, some of the other guys were on the other team, and you all know the rest, right? Anyway, my family and I, we were at that game. And in fact, I actually got a video of the entire incident on my phone. You can't really see what's going on because we weren't sitting up close or anything like that. But unfortunately, yes, we did get to see that happen. So when Paul George broke his leg, it was the end of the third quarter or the start of the fourth. I don't really remember. And Coach K, he actually canceled the game because of that. Now, since I was there, I can speak on this, but a lot of players, pretty much everybody on the bench was in tears. They were hugging each other. They were just really shaken up by the entire situation. Imagine, you see your brother on the floor. He just broke his leg. Of course, these guys are going to be shaken up by the entire situation. So where am I going with all this? Fast forward 4 or 5 years. My dad ended up leaving his day job to start a car flipping business. Nowadays, that business is doing really well, and that is his full-time job. But back when he started, just like any other business, it's not always going to go super well from the very beginning. So something I suggested to my dad was, why don't you drive for Uber in the meantime? A lot of people taking an Uber are doing so because they don't have a car. So what if you start driving for Uber and you hand out business cards to these people, so when they are looking for a car, they can call you? And he really liked the idea, and that idea has made him at least $50,000 or $60,000. So dad, if you're watching this, I'm gonna need, no, I'm kidding. I don't need anything, dad, love you. Anyway, Paul George happened to be in Vegas, and my dad was driving Uber with my car, which I was totally cool with. Like, go get your money, dad, you know, go use the car. And lo and behold, Paul George is here in Vegas and he needs someone to drive him somewhere, so he gets on the Uber app, and guess who picks him up? Yes, it is my dad. Now, my dad is a very casual NBA fan, all right? So he had seen Paul George's face somewhere. He asked him like what he did for a living, and Paul George was like, dude, I'm in the NBA. My dad said the guy was like 7 feet tall, which is pretty accurate for Paul George, right? But keep in mind, even though my dad recognized his face, he didn't know his name or anything like that. And I know that Paul told him his name, but for some reason, my dad didn't really process that that is the guy we saw broke his leg, right? So this is where things get really crazy. Apparently, Paul George asked my dad if he's been to any NBA games recently. And my dad says the most recent game that we went to was a couple years ago here in Vegas, and that they canceled the game because some motherfucker broke his leg. And I kid you not, Paul George looks at him and says, that was me. And my dad looks at Paul George, and I could just imagine like what's going on in his head. Like, oh my God, did I really just say this to this guy's face? Oh, like crazy situation, right? So of course my dad didn't get a tip when he dropped off Paul George, and my dad called me after this happened. I go online and I see Paul George tweeted something along the lines of SMH, or I can't believe this just happened, or something along those lines. I don't really remember what it was. Paul didn't specify exactly what he was talking about. He didn't say, oh, I was just in this Uber and this guy was a total jerk. He didn't say anything like that, but I was putting 2 and 2 together, and I figured, yeah, this guy is probably tweeting about my dad. So that is that story. Obviously, absolutely crazy. And like I said at the beginning of the video, for those who stay until the very end, I'm gonna tell you exactly how I got Giannis's phone number. So I said this on a live stream once, and I'm gonna say it again because I know not everybody was watching that stream. YouTube is kind of like my side hustle. I do real estate. I work for a real estate investor and a YouTuber. His name is Ryan Pineda. Now, when I first started working for Ryan, one of the things I had to do was check his DMs and let him know if anybody important reached out to him. Ryan was getting a couple hundred, maybe even 1,000 DMs a day. So for him to keep up with all that, it was a lot. And he was mentoring me about real estate. So going through his DMs and letting him know if there was anything that he needed to look at was pretty much the least that I could do. So one night I'm just scrolling through Instagram and I'm going onto his DMs to see who's messaging him. And I see that Giannis sent him a message. Now, him and Giannis had talked a little bit before because Ryan made a TikTok on him and Giannis commented or something like that. So it wasn't a complete surprise. But when I saw Giannis DM'd him, I mean, even if it wasn't a complete surprise, that's still Giannis, one of the best basketball players in the entire world. So I don't open the message or anything like that. I'm not gonna overstep my boundaries, you know what I mean? But in the little message preview, it had his phone number. So I took a screenshot really quick and I texted my boss Ryan. I'm like, bro, Giannis just texted you his number. So Ryan and I are like, whoa, that is super cool. And then a couple hours later, Ryan sends me a screenshot that him and Giannis are texting. And I'm like, whoa, this is like the coolest thing I've ever seen. Now, in case you're wondering, did I save Giannis's number? No way. When Ryan gave me access to his Instagram, from the very beginning, I understood that something like that came with a lot of responsibility. So if I were to save Giannis's number or text him on my own or give him a call, I would probably get fired for doing so, you know what I mean? So I don't want to overstep my boundaries or do something that I shouldn't do, especially after being trusted with something like that. So in case you were wondering if I'm ever gonna leak it, absolutely not. Anyway, that's the story on every single NBA player that I've met. Give this video a thumbs up if you have not done so already. Hit that subscribe button down below as well. Thank you all for watching. I am out of here.